Yes, welcome everyone. Cannabis news with Joe Klare for May 21st, 2018. A lot going on just for the show, a lot of technical issues. Here, I persevere, I persist in bringing you the cannabis news, of course, brought to you by the Marijuana Times. Make sure you check us out on Vimeo, vimeo.com/Marijuana Times X, or search the Marijuana Times on Vimeo. If you want the audio-only version of the show, of course, you can search the Marijuana Times on Apple Podcasts. You can find us that way. Also, marijuanatimes.org, a bunch of great articles, all that stuff. Today, we're talking about making ethanol from hemp. Also, an interesting video out of Canada showing you kind of, we won't play the whole video, but it's kind of showing you the normalization, the mainstreaming process of cannabis that we talk about here a lot on Cannabis News. Also, proposed expansions to New Jersey's medical marijuana program could add a lot more people to the program. All of that coming up. But first, of course, you know it. Natureside Cannabis, proud sponsor of Cannabis News. Check out naturesidecannabis.com. Check out their organic, all-natural pesticides that can help you become regulatory compliant in the state that you're growing in. Grow safe and poison-free. Don't use harmful chemicals on your grow. That is why you need naturesidecannabis.com, a proud sponsor of the show. Go check them out. This first story from marijuanatimes.org by Stephanie Hollander is making ethanol from hemp a real possibility. Unlike marijuana, industrial hemp is federally legal for institutions of higher learning and state departments of agriculture to cultivate in order to research the plant. As a result, people are starting to experiment with hemp and its uses. Of course, refers to the famous hemp pilot programs that are going on around the country, authorized by the 2014 Farm Bill. A lot of uses for hemp, obviously, and now a lot of places are free to research these uses. One interesting use for industrial hemp is turning it into ethanol. By definition, ethanol is a type of alcohol fuel that is distilled from plant materials such as corn. Ethanol can be used to stunt plant growth. It's mixed into our gas. It's also used to turn hemp buds into hemp oil, and that's just naming a few of the uses. The rest of the article goes into, how detrimental using like corn or soybeans or something like that to make ethanol can be to the environment. Hemp is much better for the soil, much better for the environment. Hemp thrives on low nutrient farmlands, requires a low farming maintenance, and produces about 4 times as much oil per acre as soybeans. Go check that story out. marijuanatimes.org. Industrial hemp, it's a big thing now. Finally getting its due, kind of. We have to keep pushing that as well. We can't let up on that. On cannabis legalization in general, all of that. Still a long way to go, but a lot of promising news in the world of hemp. Now, this next video, it's 3.5 minutes long. I'm not going to play the whole thing. It's from a news program in Canada. They're talking about business. And the reason I want to show it to you is that we talk a lot about the mainstreaming and the normalization of cannabis here on the show. And this is one of the prime examples of that. This is a mainstream news program in Canada talking about a business, talking about a huge deal worth billions and billions of dollars. And they're talking about it in the legal cannabis space. Of course, there's a lot of anticipation in Canada, hopefully, that cannabis will be legalized there in Canada, hopefully before the end of the year. There's been some delays. We talked a lot about that here on the show. This just imagine this. They're talking about billions of dollars, and they're talking about cannabis.
Our top business story to start the week, a big takeover in Canada's cannabis sector. Jameson Burko joining us from BNN Bloomberg this morning. So, it's not even legal here in Canada yet. We're already seeing takeovers.
This isn't even the first one, too. Not even the first multi-billion-dollar deal that we've seen, Anne-Marie. So a lot of activity in the cannabis space. I mean, if you ever wondered...
Not even the first multi-billion-dollar deal in the cannabis space. Think about that.
What, $3.2 billion, how much pot that would buy you? And I know we've all had that possibility pop into our heads, if we ran.
To be fair, this guy goes on really long with this joke. He goes on way past when he should have. He just moved on.
And across $3.2 billion, what would we do with it? We'd buy a whole bunch of pot. That's exactly what Aurora Cannabis is doing with Med Relief It's an all stock deal though, so we've seen huge valuations in the space. So that's an interesting factor as well, because $3.2 billion might surprise you to learn MedRelief only had sales in its last quarter of about $11 million. So we're talking about a multiple, what Bay Street uses to determine what the valuation of a company is here, of hundreds of multiples versus their sales. So this is really just a big bet on consolidation ahead of legalization. But it's an extraordinary figure to look at, right? $11 million and a $5.
Yeah, it's more. It has a lot more to do with the potential of legal cannabis and the potential of these companies than actually what's going on right now, obviously. And this woman is right. It is fascinating. It's fascinating that we're talking about this in terms of legal cannabis.
$5 million loss. That's just revenue. So no profit, quite the opposite.
This is fascinating because it is not legal yet. We don't have all the rules and regulations in place, which means there's no stopping a monopoly yet from happening.
Right. And we are starting to see maybe not a monopoly, but maybe something similar to like the banking sector in this country, a bit of an oligopoly. Some of the biggest players are really establishing some very strong footholds. So MedRelief is interesting because, of course, that's a really low revenue figure, Anne-Marie, but they have one warehouse now, one greenhouse now. They're looking at starting another, and they have land for a third, all in Southern Ontario. And they're already doing things like they partner with Amsterdam Brewery for, they call it a 420 pale ale, no pot in that. No pot either in the Cannabis Crunch bars that they sell now. Which I gotta say, I love that name, Cannabis
Crunch.
Just sounds really delicious. But for those of you who think you might want to go pick one up at home on your way home from work, there is no cannabis in that either. So if you eat 6 or 7 of them, you're just gonna feel full, and that's just disappointing.
We're disappointed.
Okay, like I said, you get the point. The talking about this on Bloomberg Business, billions of dollars, legal cannabis. All this moves cannabis as a whole, the cannabis community, the perception of cannabis among mainstream people, it moves it a little bit farther. This last story is from NorthJersey.com. New Jersey medical marijuana program could double the number of patients. New Jersey could double the number of medical marijuana users under Governor Phil Murphy's liberalization of the program. The state health commissioner said Tuesday, adding that the number of users would expand even if the state lifts its ban on non-medical use. Dr. Sharif Inahal, who Murphy named the state's top doctor in January, said the governor's changes to rules governing medical marijuana would allow the program to grow to 40,000 or 50,000 people, up from the current 20,000. In March, Murphy announced that the state was adding 5 new categories of medical conditions for which patients could be prescribed marijuana while reducing patient and caregiver fees and lifting limits on the amount of the drug that patients could possess. We do anticipate an expansion in the number of individuals who will receive the program of the therapy. Inahal told the Senate Budget and Appropriations Committee, we anticipate at least 50,000 people. Of course, that's always good news when states are talking about expanding the number of people that can be on the medical marijuana program who are qualified. They expand the list. They expand the list of qualifying conditions. They lower the barriers of entry when it comes to becoming a medical marijuana patient. All great news. It's good stuff. Good stuff. Ethanol and big mergers and expansion of medical marijuana in New Jersey. All good news today. It was a good cannabis news day. Thanks, everybody, for checking out the show, especially all of you who watch us on Vimeo, and share those videos. It's very important. Since the YouTube channel got taken away, that we get our name back out there and let people find us on this new platform and help us spread the word and spread the truth about cannabis. Thank you to naturesideCannabis.com and their all-natural organic pesticides. Check out their expertise as well and being regulatory compliant. naturesideCannabis.com. Make sure you continue to check out marijuanatimes.org and the articles on there. And again, vimeo.com/marijuanatimesx. Spread the word about us being on Vimeo. Share on your social media networks, whatever they may be, so people can find the show. Thanks to everybody who stuck with the show and you continue to comment and like and all that stuff. That is awesome of you. It's the beginning of a new week here on Cannabis News, May 21st, 2018. And we'll see you next time right here on Cannabis News.